Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Today I'm coming here with some development news with regard to immigrant visa suspension. 60 days ago, I made a video about White House suspension of immigrant visas. And on that time, the suspension was 60 days. Obviously, 60 days are going to end this week. So I'm coming here with the development news, breaking news from sources from White House, and some of the news, including CBS News and other news network, have reported the White House is going to extend the suspension. What does that mean for the people who won the DV Lottery 2020, who are waiting for the time to go to do their visas? But also, what does that mean for the people who have won the DV Lottery this year? DV 2021, they are supposed to start their interview in October. What does that mean for the people who are coming as H1 visa or workers, professional workers? What does that mean for people who are coming as J1, which are exchange visitors, visas, researchers, and some people they're coming as professional workers under J1. Myself, at one point, I came under J1. So this video is going to capture all those kind of areas and is going to give the highlight what this ban is going to cover and for how long. So stay with me for a few more minutes. I will be able to explain to this one. I know it is bad news for majority of people, but it has also some prospect information for the people who are waiting for the DV 2021, especially who have won. The results came out this June. Again, this is EBM Ernest Boniface Makulilo. Before I continue, please remember to click on the button here, which is called just subscribe, and you can click on the notification bell to be in a position to continue getting some notification once I put this kind of breaking news and some of the information. As you know, my channel gives all the information about how to succeed on so many levels: immigration, about books, about losing weight, about just doing business, anything you want to do, how we can be positive in supporting one another, whether in America, whether in Africa, whether in Europe, wherever you are, how can we be able to support one another? So let's go to straight to the point. So this afternoon, which is June 2nd, the CBS News and other sources in White House have revealed that the White House is going to extend the suspension of the visas, immigrant visa in particular, and a few other types of visas. Am I shocked about that one? Personal, no. Why? Simple. When I was making my first video about this suspension of the 60 days, for me I said that will be 60 days, but the minimum for me, I said it will be 120 days. I said it will be 60 days was very, very small amount of window. Why am I saying this one? I don't want to be the bearer of the bad news, sharing to you that 60 days was enough. Why am I saying that way? And I'm going to clarify some few things. The reasoning behind for suspension of 60 days, original 60 days, was the fact that during the month of end of March, beginning of the month of April, the total number of people who were unemployed, lost their job because of the COVID-19, there were 22 million Americans, and that was on April 11th, when they were developing the suspension of 60 days. So in order to make sure that it serves two purposes. One, to reduce the number of people coming to America was to put the suspension. Secondly, they have to work on how to be able to fight with the labor market to make sure that the majority of the jobs are taken by people who are already here in America. For that case, the suspension was also tied to one of the way to help the economy. That's why the Department of Labor was among the departments responsible of highlighting what does that mean to the labor market. And the people who are getting the jobs here versus experts coming from other countries and going to compete with the job market. So for me, I said that was April, but the coronavirus was not going anywhere by the month of April. It will continue going there. Business are still closed. Most of the things, even the stimulus which was posted before, was until July. So for that case, if we was going to end July, most of the things, so most of the operation, most of the jobs will start operating well in the summer. And you know, they've been talking about how the virus cannot be able to survive during the hot time. So during the summer, business will start booming, business will start going back. So for me, I said 60 days will be extended at least for another 60 more days. So it will be 120 days. Why? Because the number of unemployment will be increasing. So by the end of May, how many people are still unemployed? 35 million people. So if there is 35 million people, at the time they're making the first decision about the suspension of 60 days, there are 22 million. Now in the month of May, end of May, there are almost 35 million people unemployed. So this has nothing to do with anything. It's no brainer. If the reasoning of suspension is to protect the job market, the internal market, now we have more people who are unemployed. What are they going to do? What Department of Labor and Department of Homeland Security are going to do? Obviously, they will advise the president, like, okay, let's go and increase or to put more suspension on this kind of these visas. So that's what happened. But officially, we are waiting for the official proclamation, presidential decree, presidential proclamation, which will be coming out hopefully by the end of the week. But this is the official sources have already been given out. There is the extension. So who are going to be affected with this, the new extension? Number one, there was 60 days of immigrant visas, and especially people who are outside to come to America. Green card lottery winners were affected on the first 60 days of suspension. Then there are people who were coming direct with green card, H1 visa, J1 visa, were affected. Or any other type of green card. The exception was the family-based, if you are married to a US citizen, or so there are certain preferences they were allowed to process if they have to come. But apart from that, these other ways of immigrant visas were kind of like stopped for the 60 days. So all those kind of visas will be going to be extended. The bad news is, it's not going to be extended for 60 days. The plan is to extend for the remainder of the year. So they are going to extend it for the next 5-6 months to come. That is the bad news for majority of the DV lottery winners of DV 2020. If, and I'm saying if, because we haven't seen the official White House communication, which will be coming in the middle of the week or by the end of the week. If this suspension goes through like how they have been saying on CBS News and other networks, when we get the White House proclamation, and it says it will be for the remainder of the year, it means the DV lottery winners of DV 2020, I'm very, very much sorry that you will not be able to process the, and the DV lottery basically for DV 2020, the fiscal year is supposed to end by the end of September. So September 30th will be the end of the DV 2020. So for those who were waiting for the visas, that is the bad news. I know there are some few people. I know there is a friend of mine, a person I've been communicating with is in Fiji. I know someone is in Uganda. They already have the visa. They are waiting for the finding the way to come to America. But at the moment, they cannot be able to travel because of the flights. They are not in their countries. Like in Uganda, there are no flights. On this kind of situation, obviously, because you have the visa, you can travel to America. But you must travel within the visa before going to expire, which is a bad news if the visas, the flights are not going there. In Fiji, the person in Fiji, his visa is going to expire in August. So he has to travel before the end. So if you have the visa, the person in Uganda, the visa is going to end by the end of July, I think. So if you have the immigrant visa at the moment, you have the opportunity to travel. Please do so. If you're in Africa, find a way to go to Ethiopia. Ethiopian Airways goes to Europe or other few countries. Find a different connection. Use whatever money you have to travel. Use your visa immediately. Because if you have the visa, it has been approved. But before you have gone to the interview, it will be bye-bye. And that will be a very bad news for everyone who has won the DV 2020. What does this mean for the DV lottery winners of DV 2021? It will not affect much at all. So don't worry at all. I want to make sure that you understand what does that mean. Because the fiscal year DV 2021 or the fiscal year 2021 starts on October 1st. So in a normal way, the interview were supposed to start on October 1st. So if they're going to do suspension for the remainder of the year until December, So the people who are supposed to start the interview in October, they will start their interview in January. So the interviews will continue as normal from January to September 2021 without any problem. So that is the reasoning behind of that. So people for the V2021, don't get stressed out, because this one will not affect much of you. It will be just for the people with the case number, very small case number. They were supposed to expecting to have interview in October and in November and December. And you have been mentioning like, oh, if you have this case number, based on the visa bulletin numbers, your interview date will be on this day. So the visa bulletin will be completely changing. So that is something you need to understand. So also this one is going to affect people who are coming for H1 and J1. Okay, I'm going to give the estimate. They are going to talk about this suspension. If this one is going through, is going to restrict over 500,000 people to come here with the green card. And also these professional workers. For that case, they have been able to help to reserve 500,000 jobs here in America. That is the reasoning behind, according to the numbers given out by Department of Labor. Because if you restrict 500,000 people to come here, those people are coming here with a work permit direct. They are not visiting visas. They are not tourists. They are not coming as a student. We're not talking about students. We're not talking about, we are talking about H1 visa. We are talking about J1 visa. We are talking about immigrant green card visas. So all those people are coming here. They are coming to work on a professional setting. So according to the Department of Labor, basically, if we are going to stop these people, not to come right now, they'll come next year, we are going to save 500,000 jobs. That is the reasoning behind. And I'm going to read here what it says. So if you can see here, I'm going to read it from the CBS News. It's not from me. This is the official source. Trump to suspend certain work visas, citing pandemic's economic impact. The Trump administration on Monday moved to suspend certain visas that allow foreigners to move to the United States temporarily to work, saying the restriction will ease economic impact of the coronavirus and improve the prospect of Americans looking for employment during the pandemic. That is the reason. Several guest workers programs will be restricted under proclamation that is expected to be signed by President Trump. It hasn't been signed. We are waiting for the proclamation. Once the proclamation comes out, we'll be in a position to know exactly what do they mean. Who has been vocal in the eagerness to reopen business that were forced to close due to the pandemic. Officials said the new restriction on work visas will last until the end of the year. The order will suspend H1B visas for those in a specialized field like the technology sector, and most of H2B visas for the non-agricultural seasoning workers, exception those in food processing industries. Cultural exchange J1 visas and those short-term workers, cultural exchange visas. I was cultural exchange. I came as a Fulbright scholar here in America, so I understand what does that mean. Will also be restricted. White House expects, this is very critical, White House expects the proclamation to block the end roughly 525,000, so more than 500,000 people by the end of the year. A senior administration official said during the call with reporters of CBS News on Monday. Professors and scholars will be excluded from J1 visas restriction, the official added. Because under J1, there are people coming to do as your research. There are people who are coming here as professors. So for that case, people who are coming as Fulbright scholars, in this case, are not going to be affected because they are coming to teach at the university level as professors, regardless of your level of education. So this will not affect, but there are J1 visas coming here to work or to do some sort of like internship. Those will be affected. Monday's order is the second set of visa restriction the administration has implemented in response to the coronavirus. In April, the president signed a proclamation suspending certain visas for foreigners seeking to move to the United States permanently, meaning that means we're talking about a green card, through petitions from their family members or prospective employers. That order, which also poses the diversity visa lottery winners to get their visas, will be extended until late December, administration official said. So these are some of the important things I want to make sure that you understand, and I decided to be able to break down what does that mean if we hear that way. So who are affected, who are not affected? Though what they say the diversity visa lottery, they don't specify. We have two categories. We have categories of DV 2020, we have categories of DV 2021. And the implication will be a very, very bad news if this goes through, because my expectation was 60 more days. By August, it will be over. Then in September, they will be able to go to the interview at the US Embassy. That's the reason I'm telling people over and over why this opportunity, when you win the DV lottery, those who have won DV 2021 have been telling you that don't start, oh, you know, can I process this one later? My family can come later. If you don't take this opportunity, you process together to come together, they are going to suspend, your family will not accompany you. So if you have won the DV lottery, you have the family, go and borrow the money. Make sure that you come with your family right at the same moment, because you can say I'll be coming myself and then my family come later, and then guess what, the DV lottery will be suspended. What will be if we have the second wave of the coronavirus after that? Remember, in the US, in case you didn't know, the month for flu season is starting in the spring, in February, March, around that March, April, when the new the flowers coming out, the grass coming out, pollen is everywhere. That is the flu season. And in beginning of November, there is election. There will be so many people walking around on the election campaign. That will be able to might bring the second wave of the coronavirus. And then there will be a flu season around March, February, March, April. So if you are still waiting, and then the second wave of coronavirus is going to hit by beginning of next year, by February, March, and they're going to put another suspension, and you will be waiting for your family to join you later, it will be goodbye. So please, 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 this opportunity doesn't come twice. Here in America, people struggle for 5-10 years just to get the green card. And you win the DV lottery. If you have the chance to go to the interview, your time comes. For the winners of DV 2021 and the winners in the future, don't make any mistake. Don't try to make any mistake. Go with your family. You never know the future of the DV lottery. I've been saying over and over and over. So don't make any mistake. So that is something I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. If you have any question, put it in the comment below and I'll be able to answer that kind of question. But otherwise, I'm sorry for the winners of DV 2020. DV 2021, you still have a big chance. But if you have the interview date, don't change the interview date to put it further. Do the interview as soon as possible. Go with your family. Thank you so much, everyone, for your continued support. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Goodbye.